Well, it's a Sunday afternoon and I'm not buoyant. The weather again it's just crap outside. So I just thought I'd use this time before I settle down to watch Manchester United lose again to do a video. Anyway, the video I want to do is to discuss a point that was made by Gary Breaux in the August JW.Borg broadcast. I've already dealt with the fact that he swung in the demons, which I already dealt with, but he also swung in this thing about prayer, which I've also already dealt with as well, my feelings on prayer. But the interesting thing is that he's touched on a few things which I subsequently I've thought about what he said, and I'd just like to have give my 6 pennies worth on what he said. So basically, this is really in reference to how persecution and relief from persecution both prove that Jehovah's Witnesses are really God's people. Bit of a quandary, but we'll try and get down to it. So basically what he's referring to an example in South Korea. Now, I know nothing about South Korea. When I left the witnesses, there may have been one bloke there, I don't know. I have no idea how many witnesses are in South Korea, and guess what? I'm pretty not interested. But basically, you know, what obviously must have been happening is that because South Korea are perpetually in a state of war with their neighbours, North Korea, that I think they require everybody who reaches a certain age, every man obviously turns around 18, that they have to enlist in military service. And obviously the Jehovah's Witnesses were in a position saying, actually, we don't do military stuff, and therefore the officials would say, well, sorry, go to jail, don't go past go, and don't collect £200. Which may have helped, because quite often I would have thought that in a lot of instances, maybe that the young man at 18 would have to be maybe looking forward to being the breadwinner for the family. Maybe his father was ill, maybe his father was dead, maybe the father had left the family, and the family would be really looking forward to him getting a job, to bring in an income, to put food on the plate. And unfortunately, because he's a Jehovah's Witness and says, actually, I'm not doing military service, he's gone straight to jail, and he's there for God knows how many years. Now, when I was a witness a long time ago, there's a similar scenario in Greece, because I believe at that time that everybody who turned 18, every man, I think every woman as well, particularly the men, they would, they have, and maybe they still are, they are on a constant war footing with another country called Turkey. Which is just literally, they can see each other. You know, some Greek islands are just off the coast of Turkey. And of course, Turkey was very naughty because it invaded Cyprus. And of course, there's a sort of partition. You get the northern part of Cyprus, which is now controlled by Turkey. And the rest of it is all controlled by Greece. It's a little bit odd. So obviously, those two, they're not the best of neighbours, a bit like North and South Korea. And as a result, they're constantly on a war footing. So in other words, every Greek island, even Greek islands which only have Stavros, his 6 sheep, and his dog called Jimmy, up on a hill will be a little lookout shelter where a poor wee guy who's from the mainland of Greece, or where it is, has to do 2 years military service, looking out across to Turkey, waiting for the invasion, which never comes. Honestly, I've been to loads of Greek islands, and this still, I believe, is the case. You know, every island, little military installation that, you know, it's unbelievable. And I don't know whether that's still the case. I don't know whether they still go to jail. I don't know. I don't know what's happened to Greece. I'm not interested. So let's get back to South Korea. Obviously, the same thing was happening. So obviously, what was happening, therefore, is that you know, the brothers were going to prison. You know, hundreds of brothers. I would have thought 18 straight to prison. Now, you would have thought that Jehovah God, you know, for led to believe that He is all powerful, all seeing, and all doing, and knows everything, and that He's looking after His witnesses to make sure that they can fully complete their warning work. You'd think Jehovah would say, actually, this is no use. There's no use in the brothers from, you know, South Korea. You know, the numbers aren't great, and you know, I want these guys to be out on the street, standing next to carts, not speaking. That's what I want them to do. This is what I have in line for them. And going into prison for a couple of years. Dear me, it's ruining my non-speaking plans with the carts. This shall not happen. I'm going to ensure that the law is changed. That I'll influence men with position to ensure that the law is changed so that conscientious objectors do not have to do time in prison. They just say, look, I don't believe in this, and I'm a minister of Christ or whatever it is, and therefore I don't have to go to prison, and I can still provide food for my family who need it. You would have thought God would have been able to do this. But no. Apparently God wasn't able to do this, according to Gary Breaux. Now, why do I say that? Well, according to Gary Breaux, apparently now the law has been changed. Apparently now in South Korea the law's been changed. Whereupon, you can be a conscious objector and you don't have to go to prison. You don't have to leave your family. You can go out and do some work. You don't have to languish in prison for, a couple of years or whatever it is. He's finally done that because obviously all the brothers are over there. What they're going to do? Crosswords, the day's texts, have a wank. I'm turned gay, obviously, because obviously that's what's going to happen. He thought, no, I can't have all the young South Korean brothers turning gay. I've got to get them out straight away to get out carting. So he's changed the law. But the thing about it is hold on a second, why did it get to that situation anyway? Why didn't God hear the prayers of the brothers who already knew that this was potentially a threat? He already knew what the law was, and they'd be praying to say, God, please can you change the law? Please can you change things so that that my son doesn't go to prison, that the congregations, the assemblies, that everybody in South Korea must have been aware of what was happening, all incessantly praying to God, please change the law, and nothing happens. God, for some reason, doesn't hear their prayers. He doesn't hear their prayers. It takes, according to Gary Breaux, the incessant prayers of all the Jehovah's Witnesses around the world to continually be praying to him, for all of a sudden him to go, what's this I'm hearing? What? South Korea. Something's going on in South Korea. Lads. Have you heard about anybody who's looking after things in South Korea? The what? Jail? You're joking. No carting? No. They're going straight to jail. Oh my God. This cannot do. I need to do something about it. Yes, apparently that's the way, according to Gary Breaux, that it works with Jehovah God. Apparently, he doesn't hear the prayers. He didn't hear those prayers. Otherwise, I'm sure if he did hear the prayers, he would do something about it. Or maybe he has a prayer threshold figure in mind. Maybe he will not do anything until he reaches let me think about this, maybe 30 million prayers on the same subject. If he gets 30 million prayers saying, please help the brothers in South Korea, please Jehovah allow them to go out carting and not speak to people, please allow them to do this, please don't allow them to languish in jail and turn gay, please release them, Jehovah, please change the law. And then once that figure had been reached, Jehovah says, right, job's a good one. We've reached the threshold figure. I'm now going to do what I could have done, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm now going to do it. You've got to prove your point here. I've got to make sure that there's a supplication and prayer time and time again. You've reached the figure. Now I'm going to do something about it. And so he did. And Gary Breaux says that's the reason why the law got changed in South Korea, because of the prayers from the brothers and sisters. So he's saying that point, not me. He's saying if it wasn't for you, brothers and sisters, supplicating Jehovah time and time again, they would have still been in prison. So that's what Gary Breaux is saying. So then Gary Breaux turns to another story about the poor wee guy who died several years ago because obviously he had a serious illness and he refused to take blood, and he died. And we see their mother and father, who are clearly, even decades later, still with them, still man alive. They haven't got over this, the death of their son at all. And yet Gary Breaux says that allowing their son to die, that Jehovah still answered their prayers. So how does that one work then, Gary? I don't quite understand this one. So the son dies, and I'm sure everybody at that time, the mother and father, the congregation, all the congregations must have been supplicating Jehovah time and time again, please save that little boy's life. And he died. But according to Gary Breaux, Jehovah answered their prayers. How did he answer their prayers then, Gary? Please tell us, because I'm all ears. Yes, he answered their prayers by ensuring that their parents never went hungry. He answered their prayers to make sure that all their needs were met. All their needs, all their physical needs were met. So basically, on a Thursday, a sister brought round a really good, steak pie for the family who at this moment who can't even think of anything else. They've got no energy to cook anything, couldn't even put a frozen pizza in, but a sister brought round, and that's how Jehovah answered their prayers. He ensured that they never went hungry, and maybe somebody come and cleared the house for them and did the shopping for them and cooked their meals. And you think, hold on a second, Gary, I don't think the mum and dad at that time, when the son was dying and they're praying to Jehovah for a miracle, saying, please Jehovah, please hear our prayers, please hear our prayers, please save our little boy's life. Please save a little boy's life. And I particularly enjoyed the steak pie from Sister Jones last Thursday. Please can you provide another steak pie this Thursday? If you can only answer one prayer, let me think, steak pie or my son's life. Steak pie was pretty good. If you can only answer one prayer, please save my son's life. Just forget about the steak pie. Is that what we're led to believe? Is that the way it went down there? Because obviously that's what Gary Breaux is saying. That somehow the prayers are answered because their needs were met by the fact that they were fed and looked after, and somebody looked after the house and provided lifts and all that nonsense. That's how their prayers are answered. I don't think so, Gary. I really, really don't think so at all. So the only explanation I have is going back to what happened in South Korea. Unfortunately, when this little boy was seriously ill, JW.Borg wasn't on the go. And maybe, just maybe, if they had then said, brothers and sisters, we'd ask you that you supplicate Jehovah God. We have a seriously ill little boy here who is fighting for his life because he's taking a stand on the blood which we've cooked up for you. So we'd like all the brothers and sisters all over the world to supplicate Jehovah, to ensure that this little boy recovers, that his life isn't wasted, that his mum and dad are not going to be devastated for the rest of their lives, so this little boy can actually have a life. Please, we beg, brothers and sisters, time is short, please, pray to Jehovah right now. Unfortunately, there wasn't a JW.Borg back then, and so the only people who were aware of this, as I said, would be the family, the congregation, and maybe the local congregations. And unfortunately, as we've already demonstrated, according to Gary Breaux's own reasoning, that clearly Jehovah God must have, again, a threshold on answering the prayers. So unfortunately, for this poor little boy, Jehovah, the threshold wasn't reached. They never got the required amount of supplicating prayers to save this boy's life. Jehovah just looked at the prayer figure and went, oh, no, you've just not reached it. I can do you a steak pie. You've reached a threshold for a regular steak pie on a Thursday and maybe a curry on a Friday, but I'm not too sure about the fish on a Tuesday. A few more prayers will reach the fish threshold on a Tuesday. But as for saving your son's life, we're so far away from that yet. We really need the internet to help here, but it's not that popular yet. That's clearly what's happening here. That's clearly why Jehovah God never save that wee boy's life, because unfortunately they'd not reached the threshold for the prayer figure to save a boy's life. And the reason why I say that is because think about what's happening in Russia. At least I do know about Russia, because it's because I've read about it. Apparently the Jehovah's Witnesses are banned in Russia, and the Jehovah's Witnesses love the fact that they're banned in Russia. It proves yet again to them that they are God's people. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This really doesn't make any sense to me. For instance, if you go back to the 1st century and you belong to, if you're part of the Jewish faith, or a myriad of Roman gods or Greek gods, or whatever took your fancy at that time, and why do you think you'd fancy becoming a Christian? The leader, Jesus Christ, got crucified. Allegedly came back 3 days later, but only a few guys saw it. I never saw it personally, so I've just got to go by what these guys are telling me. Why would I become a Christian? Why would I become a Christian? Because, for instance, I'm looking at the example of disciples, and it's not gone too well for them. Jesus' closest acquaintances have already met some horrific deaths. So why would you join that new cult? Why would you join that new religion at that time when the leader's been crucified? All the close acquaintances who are trying to say, well, he came back and we all saw him, have also, been horribly put to death. And then all of a sudden they're rounding up people who've listened to these other guys, and it's not going well for them at all. They're being crucified, being burned, being put into Roman arenas, torn by wild animals. Why would you join that organisation? Or more importantly, yes, Jesus said, they persecuted me, they'll also persecute you. Why would God do that? Surely God, to show this is right religion, would actually, just save these guys. Don't let them get torn apart. Don't let them get crucified. You got your sacrifice from Jesus, which you're after all the time. But why do these other guys have to be sacrificed? Surely it'd be. Surely, if you want the word to be spread, you can spread the word better when you're still alive and not being burned to death, or getting crucified. You can't really spread. If you're up there being crucified and you're still sort of lingering on, the guys down below says, what's going on there? It doesn't make any sense, The guys on the things looking down at, well, it's, I'm a Christian. What's that then? Oh, well, Jesus is the Saviour. How is he saving you? Never thought about that before. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I don't understand it. But apparently, this whole thing that's happened in Russia, the witnesses say, well, this proves that we are his people because we're being persecuted. Yet again, I don't understand this. I don't know how many witnesses there are in Russia, but surely, it would serve God's purposes better with Armageddon imminent that these guys were not in prison turning gay, but they were actually outside standing next to carts not speaking. Surely that's more the better way of spreading the warning message. These guys standing there doing nothing than being in prison turning gay. I don't understand it. Surely that makes more sense. Get these guys out. I'll change the law like I did in South Korea. I'll influence solicitors or whatever because I am God and I can do anything. I'm more powerful than Satan. I'm not going to let Satan defeat me and my people. They've got important work to do. Languishing in jail is not what I want. I need them out carting, not speaking. That's what I want. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to change the law. In fact, I'll change the law to make sure they couldn't get jailed in the first place because I'm forward thinking in that respect. But bizarrely no, despite JW.Borg broadcasting what's happened in Russia, writing letters telling the brothers to write to their local MP, write to Jimmy Savile, I shouldn't mention Jimmy Savile, Jim will fix it, no Jim, please don't fix it, writing to people, I don't understand it. Why hasn't God done in Russia what he did in South Korea? This is my answer to that. Gary Breaux said before that apparently it's all the incessant prayers which ensured that Jehovah finally decided to change the law in South Korea. He manoeuvred things so the law would change because finally we'd reached a certain figure when all the rest of the witnesses on board. So I'm sure all the rest of the witnesses around the world have been praying all the time, oh Jehovah, please help our brothers in Russia. Please help our brothers in Russia. Oh Jehovah, why aren't you doing anything for our brothers in Russia? They're still in prison. The kingdom halls are closed down. The work's gone underground. You know, there's people can't go out carting and without being arrested. Oh Jehovah, please, please Jehovah, 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 Jehovah. I'm sure there must be millions of prayers. I'm sure now the prayer threshold must have been reached. If he set a certain figure on South Korea, they must have reached that figure. This is the reason why. Now, I used to work for a company, and we had sales targets, a group sales target that we had to reach a certain figure. And if we reached that figure in a month of sales, we got commission. And we reached the figure, the commission got then dealt out between the team of 10 of us, what was great. We're on to next month. We'd go in the first day of next month, there's the target. Guess what? They changed the target. They thought, right, if they could do that amount, I'm sure they could work a little bit harder and do this amount. So we go in and the targets change. So then we'd have to work even harder to achieve that target. Then of course, the next month, once you reach that target, guess what? They'd put the figure up again, so we'd have to work really, really hard again. And this went on and on and on to just squeeze that amount so, you know, we'd get less and less in commission or no commission at all. Funny enough, I left that company because I realised they're a bunch of shysters. So this apparently is what's happening with Jehovah God. Clearly, he's again increased the threshold limits that you need to reach to answer the prayers for all the brothers in the witnesses to help the praying to release the brothers in Russia. Clearly you see the South Korea figure is down here, but the Russia figure has gone way up here. It's really off the scale, and he's going, no, sorry, you've got to reach that figure, brothers. Come on, I know you can do it. We need more prayers, more prayers. This is the way this God works, apparently. And it must be that way because Gary Breaux says that's the way it was. And when eventually the brothers get released, when the law gets changed in, I don't know, 10 years, Gary Breaux will then say, well, brothers, it is because of your persistent prayers over the past 10 years that God finally did something about it. It took 10 years to reach the figure that he now set before he decided to do something. It doesn't make any sense. I keep on, near enough at the end of every video I do, I always come back to it doesn't make any sense, and it really, really doesn't. Maybe Gary, maybe just Gary, that God doesn't listen to these prayers. Maybe things just happen the way they do. What do I know? I'm not Gary Breaux. I'm not a governing body helper. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to say anymore. It's, you know, if you get where I'm coming from here, clearly this must be the way. This must be the way that Jehovah rolls with these things, with this organisation. It must be. There's no other explanation than the one I've given. Anyway, have a good day. I'm going to watch United playing in about 25 minutes. But first, I must have put that chicken in the oven because I'm pretty sure that after we've lost, that I'll want to sit down and have a chicken roasting and a glass of wine and go, oh well. Anyway, see you later. I'm just going to say goodbye then. Goodbye then. Bye.